The classroom was silent. Every student stared at the massive container in the center of the room. Inside the transparent walls, something moved. Something big. Something that made most of the class want to run away. Professor Vesh stood next to the container. His forearms moved as he spoke. His skin was purple and smooth. He belonged to a species called the Kilari, known across the galaxy for their wisdom and teaching skills. "Students," Professor Vesh began, his voice calm and steady. "Today we study one of the most dangerous creatures in the known galaxy. This is a Vrax stalker." Several students gasped. One of the bird-like Scree students, a male named Rin, stood up from his seat. His feathers puffed out in fear. "Professor, is that thing really here?" "In our classroom." "Yes," Professor Vesh said. "But do not worry. The container is made of military-grade material. It has never failed." That did not make anyone feel better. In the back row, a small insect-like student was already packing her bags. Two others near the door looked ready to leave. The creature inside the container moved again. It was roughly the size of an earth bear, but it looked nothing like one. Its body was covered in black scales that seemed to absorb light. 6 legs ending in curved claws supported its muscular frame, but the worst part was its head. 3 eyes arranged in a triangle pattern glowed a sickly yellow color. Its mouth opened slightly, revealing rows of teeth designed for tearing flesh. "This particular Vrax has killed 47 beings," Professor Vesh continued, "across 12 different star systems. It is an apex predator from a world we classify as extremely hostile." More students shifted nervously in their seats. The Vrax pressed against the container wall, and everyone except 2 people moved back in their chairs. Hyun-sik and Da-un sat in the middle row. They were humans from Earth. Hyun-sik was tall with short black hair and calm brown eyes. Da-un sat next to him, her long hair tied back in a practical style. Both of them leaned forward, studying the creature with interest rather than fear. "The Vrax hunts using echolocation," Professor Vesh explained. "It can hear a heartbeat through solid walls from 30 meters away. Its claws can cut through standard ship hull material. It can run at speeds up to 70 kilometers per hour, and it is intelligent enough to set traps for its prey." Rin raised one wing. "Professor, why would you bring such a monster to our academy?" "We are students, not soldiers." "Because," and Professor Vesh said, "you must learn to assess threats. You will travel to many worlds. Some of you will become explorers. Others will be scientists. All of you need to understand danger when you see it." The professor touched a control panel. A holographic screen appeared above the container. It showed footage of the Vrax hunting on its home world. The students watched as it stalked a large herbivore through a dark jungle. The Vrax moved with terrible grace. It was patient. It waited for the perfect moment. Then it struck with speed that seemed impossible for something so large. The classroom was completely silent except for the video. Even the brave students looked uncomfortable. The Vrax in the footage killed its prey in seconds. The violence was shocking. When the video ended, Professor Vesh looked around the room. "Now I want each of you to write an analysis. How would you survive if you encountered this creature? What weaknesses does it have? How would you escape?" Most students looked at their datapads with worried expressions. How could anyone survive against such a perfect killer? Cole, a female Scree with bright blue feathers, turned to look at Hyun-sik and Da-un. She noticed something strange. The 2 humans were taking notes, but they did not look scared. They looked interested, curious. "Excuse me," Cole called out to them. "Are you 2 not frightened?" Hyun-sik looked up from his datapad. He seemed surprised by the question. "Frightened? Of what? Of that?" Cole pointed at the Vrax with her wing. "That is a killing machine." Da-un smiled slightly. "It is impressive," she agreed. "But we have creatures like this on Earth. Actually, we have about 6 species that are similar." The students around them stared. Professor Vesh's eyes widened. All 4 of his hands stopped moving. "What do you mean?" the professor asked slowly. Hyun-sik shrugged. "Well, we have big cats that hunt like this. Tigers, lions, leopards. They use patience and speed. We have bears that can tear through walls. We have crocodiles with crushing bite force. We have snakes with venom that can kill in minutes. And we have—" "Stop," Professor Vesh interrupted. His voice sounded strange. "You are telling me that Earth has multiple species like the Vrax?" "Yes," Da-un said. "Although this one is actually pretty small compared to some of ours. An adult male grizzly bear is about the same size but heavier, and we have whales in our oceans that are 30 times larger than this creature. The classroom erupted in noise. Students talked over each other. Some spoke in languages the translator could not keep up with. Everyone stared at the two humans like they were crazy. Rin stood up again.
How do you survive on such a world?
Your planet must be classified as extremely hostile. It is, Hyunsik said calmly. Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. We know this. But you speak of these creatures so casually, another student shouted. Dayan thought about this for a moment. I suppose we are used to them. We grow up learning about dangerous animals. We learn to respect them. We learn to avoid them or protect ourselves. It is just part of life. Professor Vesh moved closer to the human students. His forearms crossed over his chest. Hyunsik-doan, I must ask you both a question. Please answer honestly. If this container failed right now and the Vrax escaped, what would you do? The two humans looked at each other. They seemed to have a silent conversation with just their eyes. Then Hyunsik turned back to the professor. First, we would get everyone behind us, he said. Then we would make noise and make ourselves look bigger. If that did not work, we would look for weapons. Anything heavy or sharp. We would aim for its eyes or joints. If it attacked, we would protect the vulnerable students first. You would fight it? Professor Vesh sounded shocked. Only if we had no choice, Dayun added quickly. Running is usually the best option. But if students were trapped, then yes, we would fight. You cannot just let people die. The classroom was silent again. But this time the silence was different. The students were not looking at the Vrax anymore. They were looking at the humans. Rin and Cole exchanged nervous glances. Suddenly, the creature in the container did not seem like the most dangerous thing in the room. Professor Vesh slowly nodded. I see, thank you for your honesty. He turned to address the whole class. Students, this is an important lesson. The Vrax is dangerous, yes. But remember this. The universe contains many types of danger. Some are obvious. Others are not. He looked at Hyunsik and Dayun. These humans come from a world more hostile than the Vrax's home planet. Yet they are here, learning alongside you. They are calm. They are kind. But never forget what that means. They survived their world. That takes something special. Hyunsik shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He did not like being the center of attention. Dayan just smiled politely. The lesson continued, but none of the students could focus. They kept glancing at the humans. The two students from Earth just kept taking notes, treating the deadly predator like any other subject in school. Outside the classroom window, the stars shone bright. And somewhere among those stars, the blue planet called Earth continued to spin, a world that had shaped humans into something the galaxy was only beginning to understand. The alarm started as a low beep. Then it became a screaming wail that filled every corner of the academy station. Red lights flashed in the hallways. Students poured out of classrooms, confused and scared. In Professor Vesh's classroom, everything happened very fast. The Vrax had been calm for most of the lesson. It stayed in its container, watching the students with its 3 yellow eyes. But then something changed. A small spark appeared on the container's control panel. Then another. The container's energy field began to flicker. Everyone stay calm, Professor Vesh said. But his voice was not calm at all. His forearms moved quickly over the control panel. This should not be happening. The system is failing. The container's walls became less solid. They looked like glass turning into smoke. The Vrax noticed this immediately. It moved to the edge of the container and pushed against the field. Its claws went through the barrier like it was water. That was when the students began to scream. Chairs fell over as everyone rushed toward the door. The Scree students flew upward toward the ceiling. Other students pushed and shoved, trying to escape. In the panic, 3 students fell to the floor. No one stopped to help them, but Hyunsik and Da-un did not run. They stood up quickly, but they moved toward the fallen students instead of toward the door. Hyunsik grabbed a young student with tentacles and pulled him to his feet. Dayan helped a small furry student stand up. Get to the door.
Dayun shouted at them. Move now.
The Vrax broke free completely. The container's field died with a soft sound. The creature stepped out onto the classroom floor. It was even more terrifying outside the container. Up close, every scale, every claw, every tooth looked designed to kill. Professor Vesh backed away slowly. Do not run, he said quietly. Running triggers its hunting instinct. But it was too late. The students at the door panicked more. They scrambled over each other. The Vrax's head turned toward the movement. All 3 eyes focused on the crowd. Its mouth opened slightly, Then it jumped toward the ceiling vent. With one swipe of its claws, it tore the metal grate away. The creature squeezed into the ventilation system and disappeared. Only the sound of its claws scraping against metal showed where it went. The classroom door finally opened. Students poured out into the hallway. More screaming came from outside. Someone shouted, "Containment breach! Level 5 emergency." Hyun-sik grabbed Professor Vesh's arm. "Professor, where do those vents lead?" Vesh's hands shook. "Everywhere. The ventilation system connects to every part of the station." "We need to evacuate this section," Da-eun said. She spoke quickly but clearly. "The Vrax will use the vents to hunt. It can move through the station without being seen." More alarms sounded. A voice came through the speakers. "All students proceed to emergency shelters." "This is not a drill. Security team to Section 7. We have a hostile creature loose on the station." In the medical wing of the station, Ji-woo was helping a student with a broken arm when the alarms started. She was a human student studying medicine. She had kind eyes and gentle hands, but she moved with quick efficiency when the emergency announcement played. "I need to finish the cast first," she told the security officer who came to evacuate them. "This student cannot move safely without it. There is a predator loose on the station," the officer said. He was a tall being with gray skin and large ears. "We must leave now." Ji-woo's hands did not stop working. "Then you should go. I will finish this and follow in 2 minutes." The security officer stared at her. He could not understand how she stayed so calm. Finally, he decided to wait with her instead of leaving her alone. In the security office, Tae-sung was already pulling up station maps on the computer screens. He was a human who worked as a security officer on the station. Before coming to space, he had been in Earth's military. He had seen danger before. "Show me the ventilation system layout," he told the station's computer. "Highlight all access points to the vents." Commander Thel rushed into the security office. He looked like a large insect standing on 2 legs. His shell was dark green, and his compound eyes reflected the red emergency lights. "Tae-sung, I need your team ready. We must contain this creature before it kills someone." "Sir, with respect, your team is not trained for this," Tae-sung said. He pointed at the screens. "The Vrax is an ambush predator. It will wait in the vents until it finds isolated prey. Your security teams will march through the halls in formation, making noise. The creature will avoid them or attack from behind." Commander Thel's antennae drooped. "Then what do you suggest?" "Let me gather the other humans," Tae-sung said. "We know how to deal with predators." Back in the classroom section, Hyun-sik and Da-eun were organizing the evacuation. They had stopped running and instead moved with purpose. While other students panicked, the 2 humans checked each classroom to make sure no one was left behind. "Room clear," Da-eun called out after checking another classroom. Hyun-sik guided a group of students toward the emergency shelter. "Walk quickly but do not run. Stay together. Do not make loud noises." Rin, the Scree student, watched them with confusion. "Why are you helping?" "Should you not save yourselves?" "We will all be safe," Hyun-sik said, "but only if we work together. Now move." A sound came from above them, scraping metal. The students froze. Something was in the vents directly above their heads. They could hear it moving, slow, patient, hunting. Da-eun held up her hand. Everyone stopped talking. The silence was heavy. They could hear breathing, their own hearts beating, and above them the soft sound of claws on metal. The Vrax was following them. Hyun-sik's mind worked quickly. He looked around the hallway. There was a fire suppression system on the wall. Next to it, an emergency kit. He moved slowly toward them, trying not to make sudden movements. "Da-eun," he whispered. "Keep them calm. Keep them quiet." She nodded and turned to the students. "Listen to me," she said softly. "The creature hunts by sound and heartbeat. Slow your breathing. Stay very still." The students tried to obey, but many of them could not control their fear. A small student began to cry. Another's teeth chattered loudly. Their biology betrayed them. Fear made their hearts race, made them breathe fast, made them easy prey. Hyun-sik reached the fire suppression system. He pulled the emergency release. White foam began to spray from the ceiling nozzles. At the same time, he grabbed his jacket and the emergency thermal blanket from the kit. "Everyone to me," he said quietly but firmly. "Wrap yourselves in these blankets." Da-eun understood immediately. "The thermal blankets will hide your heat signatures. The foam will muffle sound. Move slowly." While the students wrapped themselves, Hyunsik did something that seemed crazy. He took his jacket and tied it around the thermal blanket. Then he activated a small heater from the emergency kit and placed it inside the jacket. He threw the bundle down the opposite hallway. The Vrax heard the sound. It heard the heat signature moving away from the group. Its hunting instincts took over. The vent cover 20 meters away exploded outward as the creature dropped into the hallway. It ran after the jacket, chasing what it thought was prey. "Go. Now!" Hyunsik whispered urgently. The students ran. This time their panic was useful. They moved fast toward the emergency shelter. Dayun and Hyunsik stayed at the back, making sure everyone made it through the heavy security door. Just as the last student entered, the Vrax realized it had been tricked. They heard its roar of anger echo through the station. It was coming back. Hyunsik slammed his hand on the door controls. The heavy door began to close. Slowly. Too slowly. The Vrax appeared at the end of the hallway. It saw them. All three eyes locked onto Hyunsik and Dayun. The creature crouched low, ready to charge. Come on, Dayun muttered at the door. The Vrax ran toward them. Fast. Impossibly fast. Its claws tore up the floor with each step. 20 meters away. 15. 10. The door was halfway closed. Hyunsik and Dayun dove through the opening. They hit the floor and rolled. The door sealed shut with a heavy boom just as the Vrax crashed into it. The entire wall shook from the impact. The creature's claws scraped against the metal, trying to cut through. Inside the shelter, the students stared at the two humans. They were breathing hard but otherwise seemed fine. Hyunsik stood up and helped Dayun to her feet. "Is everyone okay?" he asked, checking the group of students they had saved. They all nodded, too shocked to speak. Professor Vesh had made it to the shelter before them. He looked at Hyunsik and Dayun with something like awe in his eyes. "You created a diversion. You tricked an apex predator." "It was just a jacket and a heater," Hyunsik said, shrugging. "Just?" Call's voice was high with disbelief. "You made yourself bait. You almost died." Dayun smiled slightly. Almost does not count. Outside the shelter, through the thick door, they could still hear the Vrax. It was searching the hallways, hunting, and somewhere in the station, Taesung and the other humans were preparing to hunt it back. The students from other worlds realized something in that moment. They had been saved by the Deathworlders. The same humans they had feared just an hour ago were the ones keeping them alive. It was a lesson they would never forget. The security office looked like chaos. Screens showed different parts of the station. Red warning lights flashed on half of them. Commander Thel stood in the center, his antennae twitching with stress. Around him, security officers shouted reports. Team 3 saw the creature in Section 9, but it disappeared before they could respond. Medical Bay reports 2 guards dead. Claw marks match the Vrax. Students are panicking in the shelters. We cannot keep them calm much longer. Commander Thel's shell clicked as he shifted his weight. His compound eyes looked at all the screens at once. His security forces were failing. The Vrax was faster than them, smarter than them, and it was hunting his people one by one. The door opened. 5 humans walked in together. Taesung led them. Behind him came Hyunsik and Dayun from the classroom. Then Jiwoo from medical. And finally, 2 more humans that Commander Thel had not met before. "Commander," Taesung said, "we want to help." The security officers stopped talking. Everyone turned to look at the humans. Some officers looked hopeful. Others looked doubtful. One officer, a being with scales and a long neck, spoke up. "No offense to your species, but what can 5 soft-skinned beings do against the Vrax? We have weapons and training, and we still cannot stop it." The human with short hair and glasses stepped forward. His name was Sang-woo, and he was an engineering student. "Your weapons are designed for security work," he said calmly. "For stopping criminals or dealing with riots. Not for hunting a predator in close quarters." "And your training," added the last human, a woman with sharp eyes named Yujin, "teaches you to work as a team in open spaces. The Vrax is using the station structure against you. It attacks from vents, from above, from behind. It is fighting on its terms, not yours." Commander Thel was quiet for a moment. Then he gestured to the screens with one of his limbs. "2 of my officers are dead. If you have ideas, I am listening." Taesung moved to the main display. "First, we need to understand the creature's behavior. Yujin, you studied animal psychology. What is it thinking?" Yujin stepped up next to him. She studied the maps showing where the Vraks had been spotted. It is scared, she said. Look at the pattern. It is not hunting efficiently. It killed the guards because they cornered it. But mostly it is moving through the station randomly. It is looking for a way out. Scared? An officer said. It is an apex predator. Exactly, Yujin replied. On its world, it is the top hunter. But this is not its world. This is a metal box floating in space. The sounds are wrong. The smells are wrong. It does not understand where it is. Fear makes any creature dangerous. Sang-woo pointed at the ventilation system map. It is using the vents because they feel safe. Enclosed spaces, like tunnels or caves. We can use this. How? Commander Thel asked. We make it go where we want it to go, Sang-woo said. We block off certain vents. We create noise in others to drive it away. We funnel it into a specific area. And then what? The commander asked. Hyun-sik spoke for the first time. Then we contain it, safely, without killing it if possible. The scaled security officer laughed. It was not a kind laugh. You want to capture it alive. The creature that has killed 47 beings? It did not ask to be brought here. Da-won said quietly. It is just an animal. A scared, confused animal. The security officers exchanged looks. The concept seemed strange to them. The creature was killing their people, and the humans wanted to show it mercy. Commander Thel's antennae drooped in thought. Finally, he nodded. What do you need? Access to environmental controls, Sang-woo said immediately. I can manipulate airflow to direct it. Security footage from all cameras, Yujin added. I need to predict where it will go next. And, Taesung said, we need your security teams to stop chasing it. Every time they make noise, it runs. Let us be the ones who approach it. This caused an uproar among the security officers. Let untrained students hunt the Vraks while they stayed back? It sounded like insanity. But Commander Thel raised a limb for silence. You have 1 hour, he told the humans. If this does not work, I am calling for military support from the nearest fleet. They will blow out that section of the station to kill the creature. That will not be necessary, Taesung said with confidence. The humans got to work immediately. They moved with surprising coordination. It was like they had done this before, though that was impossible. None of them were hunters. They were just students and a security officer. Yet they worked together like a practiced team. Sang-woo's fingers flew over the engineering controls. Closing vents in sections 3, 5, and 7. Opening vents in section 10. Increasing airflow here. And here, Yujin watched the security screens. She had pulled up all the footage of the Vrak since it escaped. It favors the left side, she muttered. When it has a choice, it always goes left. That means, if we push it from the right, it will go toward section 10, Sang-woo finished. Perfect. That is where we want it. Ji-woo had pulled up the station's medical supplies inventory. I can mix a sedative strong enough for the Vraks, but someone will need to inject it. The creature's scales are thick. You will need to get very close. I will do it, Hyun-sik said. We will do it, Daeun corrected. You are not going alone. On the screens they could see the Vraks moving through the vents. It stopped sometimes, listening. Its 3 eyes glowed in the darkness. It looked terrifying, but Yujin was right. It also looked confused and afraid. Starting the drive now, Sang-woo said. He activated several systems at once. Loud noises began playing through speakers in certain sections. Bright lights flashed in hallways. Air vents opened and closed in a pattern. The Vraks responded exactly as predicted. It moved away from the noise and light. It chose the left path when given options. Slowly, it was being pushed toward Section 10. Section 10 is a maintenance area, Commander Thel said, watching with fascination. It is mostly empty. Large open space with minimal vents? Exactly, Taesung said. Once it is there, we seal the vents. It will have nowhere to run, but it will be cornered, the scaled officer pointed out. A cornered predator is most dangerous. That is why we are going in, Hyun-sik said. He was checking the equipment Ji-woo had prepared. A long pole with a syringe attachment. The sedative was in a reinforced container. We need to stay calm. No sudden moves. We show it we are not a threat. Not a threat? The officer looked at them like they were crazy. You are prey to that creature. Daeun smiled slightly. We come from a world with many predators. We learned a long time ago that you do not always have to be the strongest. You just have to be the smartest. The Vraks was almost at Section 10. The humans gathered their equipment. Taesung carried a shield made from a maintenance panel. Sangwoo had rigged up a net made from cargo straps. Jiwoo had the medical kit. Hyunsik and Daeun carried the sedative poles. Remember, Yujin said before they left, the Vrax is scared. Do not look it directly in the eyes. That is a challenge. Move slowly. Speak softly. Give it a chance to understand you are not hunting it. The security officers watched on the screens as the 5 humans walked toward Section 10. They moved without fear. Without weapons. Just walking toward one of the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy like they were going to meet a friend. I do not understand them, the scaled officer said quietly. Commander, Thel's antennae straightened as he watched. Neither do I, but look. He pointed at the screen showing the Vrax. The creature has entered Section 10. Sangwoo's voice came over the communicator. Sealing vents now. Heavy doors closed over all the vent openings in Section 10. The Vrax heard the noise. It spun around, suddenly realizing it was trapped. Its claws scraped against the floor. Its 3 eyes looked in every direction, searching for escape. The door to Section 10 opened. The 5 humans stepped inside. The Vrax saw them. It lowered its body into a crouch. Its mouth opened, showing all those terrible teeth. A low sound came from its throat. Not quite a growl. Not quite a hiss. A warning. Easy, Hyunsik said softly. Easy there. We are not going to hurt you. The Vrax did not understand the words, but it understood the tone. The creature tilted its head slightly, confused. The humans spread out slowly, not surrounding it, not threatening, just giving themselves space to move. They kept their bodies relaxed. Their movements were smooth and calm. You are scared, Daeun said gently. You want to go home? We understand. We want to help you. The Vrax took a step backward. Its eyes darted between the 5 humans. It was trying to decide, fight or flight, but there was nowhere to flee. We know you do not want to fight, Hyunsik continued. His voice was steady and calm. You are tired. You are hungry. You are confused. Let us help you. In the security office, every being watched the screens in silence. They could not believe what they were seeing. The humans were talking to the monster. And somehow, impossibly, the monster was listening. They are insane, someone whispered. No, Commander Thel said slowly. They are Deathworlders. This is what that truly means. On the screen, Hyunsik took 1 small step forward. The Vrax tensed but did not attack. He took another step. The creature's muscles coiled, ready to spring, but the human did not show fear. He just kept speaking in that same calm, gentle voice, like he was talking to a frightened pet, not a killer. And against all logic, the Vrax did not attack. The standoff lasted only seconds, but it felt like hours. The Vrax crouched low, every muscle tight. Its 3 yellow eyes tracked the humans as they moved slowly into better positions. Its claws dug small grooves in the metal floor. Hyunsik kept his voice soft and steady. Good, that is good, see? We are not attacking. We are just here. The creature's head moved slightly, following his voice. One of its eyes focused on the pole he carried. It could probably smell the chemicals in the sedative. Its body tensed even more. It is going to charge, Taesung said quietly. He raised the makeshift shield just a bit. Get ready. Wait, Yujin said. She was watching the creature carefully, reading its body language. Look at its legs. Look at its breathing. It does not want to fight. It is just scared. She was right. The Vrax's breathing was fast and shallow. Its weight shifted back and forth between its legs. These were signs of panic, not aggression. The creature was terrified. Hey, Daeun said softly. She slowly lowered herself into a crouch, making herself smaller, less threatening. Hey there, it is okay. You are okay. The Vrax's eyes all turned to her. For a moment, no one moved. The only sound was the hum of the station systems and the creature's ragged breathing. Then something unexpected happened. The Vrax made a sound. It was not a roar or a growl. It was almost like a whimper. A sound of distress. It is asking for help, Jiwoo said quietly. Her medical training helped her recognize pain. Look at how it holds its left leg. I think it is injured. Now that she mentioned it, they could all see it. The Vrax was favoring its right side. When it shifted weight, it barely put pressure on the back left leg. Probably hurt it breaking out of the container, Sangwoo guessed. Or when it was first captured. Hyunsik's expression softened even more. You are hurt. You are scared. You just want this to stop. He took another small step forward. We want it to stop too. Let us help. The Vrax watched him approach. Its muscles were still tense, but it did not attack. Its 3 eyes showed confusion. These creatures were acting wrong. Prey did not walk toward predators. Prey did not speak softly. Prey ran, but the humans were not running. I am going to help you, Hyun-sik said. He was close enough now that the Vrax could kill him with one swipe. Everyone watching on the security screens held their breath. Just stay calm. The Vrax's body language changed slightly. Its weight shifted backward. It was preparing to leap away, not to attack. It wanted to escape, even with nowhere to go. That was when Hyun-sik did something that made everyone gasp. He slowly set down the sedative pole. He held up both hands, showing they were empty. See? No weapons. I am not going to hurt you. Taeyun understood what he was doing. She set her pole down too. One by one, the other humans put down their equipment. They stood there unarmed, facing the apex predator. Commander Thel's voice came over the communicator, tight with stress. What are you doing?
You need those to sedate it.
We are building trust, Yujin said quietly, not taking her eyes off the Vrax. We need it to understand we are not a threat. You are a threat. One of the security officers shouted over the comm. You are standing right there. It could kill all of you in seconds. But it has not, Taesung pointed out. Think about that. We are easy prey. We are close. But it is not attacking. The Vrax's breathing began to slow. Its body was still tense, but not as much. It was thinking, processing. These strange creatures were acting completely outside its understanding of how prey behaved. Hyun-sik slowly moved his hand toward his pocket. The Vrax's eyes locked onto the movement. Its muscles coiled again. Easy, he said. Easy, just food, see? He pulled out a ration bar from his pocket. Something the humans ate.
Food, are you hungry?
He broke off a piece and tossed it gently toward the Vrax. The small piece landed a few feet in front of the creature. The Vrax sniffed at it. Its sensitive nose analyzed the object. It was not meat, but it was food. Edible. The creature looked up at Hyun-sik, then back at the food. It was trying to understand what this meant. Was it a trick? After a long moment, the Vrax reached out with one claw and dragged the food closer. It ate the piece quickly, still watching the humans. Good, Hyun-sik said with a small smile. That is good. He tossed another piece. This one landed a bit closer to himself. The Vrax hesitated longer this time, but eventually took that piece too. I cannot believe this is working, Commander Thel muttered. Over the next 10 minutes, Hyun-sik slowly fed pieces of his ration bar to the Vrax. Each piece was a little closer than the last. The creature began to relax. Its breathing became normal. It even sat back on its haunches, taking pressure off the injured leg. Now, Yujin whispered, it is calm enough now. Ji-woo slowly picked up the medical kit. She moved like water, smooth and non-threatening. The Vrax watched her but did not react aggressively. She knelt down a few meters away and opened the kit. We need to help your leg, she said softly. It hurts, yes? We can make it better. The creature tilted its head. It could not understand words, but tone carried meaning across all species. Ji-woo's tone was kind, caring. The Vrax could sense this. Da-yoon slowly picked up one of the sedative poles. The Vrax's eyes tracked the movement, but it did not panic. It was starting to understand that these creatures with the poles had not used them as weapons. The sedative will make you sleep, Da-yoon explained, moving inch by inch closer. When you wake up, the pain will be less. We will fix your leg, and then we will send you home. The Vrax made that whimpering sound again. Its eyes looked tired now. It had been running and fighting for hours. The fear and adrenaline were fading, leaving only exhaustion. Hyun-sik was now close enough to touch the creature. He held out his hand, palm up. The Vrax sniffed at it carefully. His scent was strange but not threatening. After a moment, the creature allowed him to place his hand gently on its scaled head. Brave one, he said softly. You are very brave. But you can rest now. We have you. Behind him, Da-yoon moved into position with the sedative pole. The Vrax saw her but did not move away. It was watching Hyun-sik's face, reading his expression, trusting against all its instincts that these creatures meant what their voices said. Da-yoon positioned the pole carefully. The injection site needed to be just right, between the scales where the skin was softer, near the shoulder where major blood vessels would carry the sedative quickly. On 3, she whispered. 1, 2, good creature, Hyun-sik said. Very good. 3. Dayun pressed the injector. The needle went through cleanly. The Vrax jerked slightly but did not attack. The sedative entered its bloodstream. The creature looked at Daun, then at Hyun-sik. Then its eyes began to lose focus. The sedative was fast-acting, designed for large animals. Within seconds, the Vrax's legs began to wobble. "Easy," Hyun-sik said, supporting the creature's head as it started to fall. "We have you. You are safe." The Vrax collapsed slowly, its body going limp, but even as consciousness faded, its 3 eyes stayed on Hyun-sik's face. The last thing it saw before sleep took it was not fear or anger, but something else. Concern. Kindness. The creature's eyes closed. For a moment, no one moved. Then Jiwoo rushed forward with her medical kit. "Help me turn it. I need to check that leg." The humans worked together, carefully positioning the sleeping Virax. Jiwoo examined the injured leg with professional efficiency. "Fracture," she announced. "Not bad, but painful. I can set it and apply a temporary brace." As she worked, the security office erupted in noise. Officers were talking over each other, trying to process what they had just witnessed. Commander Thel stood silent, his antennae completely still. His security forces had failed, but 5 students had succeeded. Not through weapons or force, but through something else. Something his species did not have a name for. Professor Vaish's voice came over the communicator. He'd been watching everything from a shelter with the other students. "Commander, may I come to Section 10? I must see this myself." "Yes," Commander Thel said slowly. "Yes, I think you should." A few minutes later, Professor Vesh entered Section 10. Behind him came Rin, Cole, and several other students. They all stopped at the door, staring at the scene before them. The Vrax lay sleeping on the floor. Jiwoo was finishing the medical brace on its leg. Sangwoo was running diagnostics to make sure the sedative was working properly. Taesung was checking the creature's vital signs. Hyun-sik and Daun sat nearby, still speaking softly to the unconscious animal. "Why do you still talk to it?" Cole asked. "It cannot hear you." "Maybe not," Daun said. "But it helped calm it down before. Words have power, even if they are not understood." Professor Vesh moved closer. His forearms hung loose at his sides. "You captured an apex predator without weapons. Without violence. You showed it mercy. It needed help," Hyun-sik said simply. "That is all that mattered." "But it killed 2 guards," Rin said. "Does that not make you angry?" "It was scared and in pain," Yujin answered. "Fear makes every creature dangerous, even us. The guards probably cornered it and it defended itself. That is not evil. That is just nature." The alien students exchanged looks. This concept was difficult for them. Their worlds had predators too, but they were always the enemy. Always something to fear and avoid. The idea of showing compassion to something that could kill you was alien to them. But to humans, it was natural. Jiwoo finished her work and stood up. "The leg is set." 3 days had passed since the incident. The station had returned to its normal routine, but nothing felt quite the same. In the central assembly hall, every student and teacher had gathered. The hall was large enough to hold thousands of beings from hundreds of different species. Today, it was completely full. Commander Thel stood on the main platform. His green shell gleamed under the lights. Next to him stood Professor Vesh and the 5 humans who had captured the Vrax. They looked uncomfortable with all the attention. "Thank you all for coming," Commander Thel began. His voice carried through the hall's speakers. 3 days ago, this station experienced a serious emergency. A dangerous predator escaped containment. 2 security officers lost their lives. Many others were injured. It was the worst crisis this academy has ever faced. The hall was silent. Everyone remembered the fear, the alarms, the lockdowns. "But today I want to talk about what happened after the crisis began," the commander continued. "I want to talk about 5 students who did something remarkable." He gestured toward the humans. "Hyun-sik, Daun, Taesung, Sangwoo, and Yujin. Please step forward." The 5 humans stepped to the front of the platform. They could see thousands of eyes looking at them. Rin and Cole sat in the front row with other students from Professor Vesh's class. Behind them sat beings from every corner of the galaxy. These 5 individuals, Commander Thel said, captured an apex predator without killing it, without using violence. They did what my trained security forces could not do, and they did it through intelligence, teamwork, and something my species does not have a word for. Professor Vesh stepped forward. His forearms moved as he spoke. Before this incident, I brought the Vrax to class as a teaching tool. I wanted to show students what danger looks like. How to assess threats, how to understand predators, he paused. But I learned something I did not expect. I learned that I did not understand Deathworlders. A ripple of whispers went through the crowd. The term Deathworlder was not usually spoken so openly. It was considered rude by some, fearful by others. We use this term, Professor Vesh continued, to describe beings from extremely dangerous planets. Planets classified as hostile to most forms of life. We call them death worlds because death is everywhere on these planets. Predators, diseases, natural disasters. Death is a constant companion. He looked at the 5 humans. We assumed that beings from death worlds would be like their planets, brutal, violent, dangerous. We were wrong. Yun-Sik shifted uncomfortably. He did not like being the center of attention, but Professor Vesh was not finished. The humans showed us something important. Their dangerous world did not make them killers. It made them survivors. It taught them to be smart, to work together, to solve problems instead of just fighting. Most importantly, it taught them compassion. This caused more whispers. Compassion. From Deathworlders? Dayun stepped forward, raising her hand politely. May I speak? Commander Thel nodded. Please. She looked out at the sea of alien faces. I understand why you were afraid of us. Earth is a dangerous place. We have predators that can kill in seconds, diseases that have wiped out millions, natural disasters that destroy entire cities. Death is everywhere, just like the professor said. Many students nodded. This matched what they had learned about Earth. But, Daun continued, death being everywhere taught us something important. It taught us that life is precious. Every life, even the lives of creatures that might hurt us. She gestured to a screen that appeared behind her. It showed the Vrax in its container, now fully healed and sedated. This creature killed 2 beings. It was scared and hurt and trapped. On many worlds, the response would be to kill it, to eliminate the threat. But we could not do that. Why not? Someone called out from the crowd. It was dangerous. Because, Yun-Sik answered, stepping up next to Daun, it did not choose to be here. Someone took it from its home, trapped it, brought it to a place it did not understand. The killing was not its fault. It was ours. Ours for putting it in that situation. The hall was completely silent now. Every being was listening. Yujin spoke next. On Earth, we learned something over millions of years. Fear is useful. It keeps you alive. But fear alone is not enough. If you let fear control you, you become prey. You freeze. You panic. You make mistakes. So what do you do instead? Cole called out from the front row. You think, Sang-Woo answered. You observe. You understand. The Vrax was not evil. It was not a monster. It was just an animal far from home. Once we understood that, the solution became clear. Help it, calm it, send it home, Taesung added. Our world taught us that everything wants to survive. Predators, prey, even humans. We all want the same thing. Safety, food, home. When you remember that, it becomes easier to find solutions that do not involve death. Professor Vesh raised one of his forearms. This is the lesson, students. The humans faced one of the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. They were afraid. They admitted this to us. But they did not let fear make their choices. They used intelligence instead. Commander Thel spoke again. After watching the security footage many times, I saw something my officers did not do. The humans never saw the Vrax as an enemy. They saw it as a problem to solve. This mindset made all the difference. A student in the back row stood up. She was a small, furry being with large eyes. But how do you learn this? How do you not see danger as an enemy? Jiwoo smiled gently at the question. Practice, time, experience. On Earth, children learn about dangerous animals from a young age. We teach them to respect these creatures, not hate them. We teach them that a snake or a spider or a bear is not evil. They are just living their lives like we are. We also teach them, Hyun-Sik added, that most conflicts can be avoided. The best way to deal with a predator is to give it space. Let it leave. Do not corner it. Do not threaten it. Most animals do not want to fight. Fighting is risky even for predators. They would rather avoid conflict too. Rin stood up in the front row. His feathers were not puffed up in fear this time. I must apologize, he said clearly. Before the incident, I was afraid of the humans in our class. I thought they were dangerous. I treated them like they were the threat. He looked at Hyunsik and Daun. I was wrong. You saved my life. You saved all of us. Other students began standing up. One by one they echoed Rin's words, apologies, thank yous, requests to learn from the humans. Commander Thel let this continue for a moment, then raised a limb for quiet. There is one more thing, he said. The station council and I have discussed the incident. We have decided to make changes to our security training. We will be asking the human students to help teach our security forces about threat assessment, crisis management, and most importantly, about remaining calm under pressure. Tae-sung looked surprised. Us teach your security forces? Yes, Commander Thel said firmly. You have skills we need. Not because you are stronger or because you have better weapons, but because your world taught you to think differently, to see solutions where we see only threats. The hall erupted in applause. The sound was strange as different species showed approval in different ways. Some clapped, some clicked, some made musical sounds, but the meaning was clear. The humans were being honored. Later that evening, the 5 humans sat together in the station's observation deck. Through the massive windows, they could see the stars in the blue curve of a nearby planet. It was not Earth, but the sight still made them feel a little less far from home. That was overwhelming, Daun said, leaning back in her chair. I did not expect all that attention. Neither did I, Hyunsik agreed. We just did what needed to be done. That is what makes it special, Yujin said. To us, it was obvious. Help the scared animal. But to them, it was revolutionary. They saw a threat. We saw a problem with a solution. Sang-woo pulled up an image on his datapad. Commander Thel sent me this. The Vrax is being transported back to its home world tomorrow. They fixed the security issue that caused the escape, and they are returning 3 other captured predators they were keeping for study. Good, Ji-woo said softly. They belong with their own kind. In places they understand. Tae-sung looked out at the stars. Do you think this will change things? The way other species see us? Maybe, Hyunsik said. But it should not change how we see ourselves. We are still just students trying to learn. Earth made us who we are, but we are not special. We just had different teachers. The best teachers, Dayun added with a smile. Lions and storms and earthquakes. They taught us well. A group of alien students approached them. Among them were Rin and Cole. The 2 Scree looked nervous but determined. Excuse us, Rin said. We do not wish to interrupt. You are not interrupting, Hyunsik assured them. Please sit with us. The alien students sat down, looking at the same view of stars the humans were watching. We have been talking, Cole said, and we want to understand Earth better. We want to know what it is really like to grow up on a death world. Would you tell us? The 5 humans exchanged glances. Then Daun nodded. It is beautiful, she began. Dangerous, yes, but beautiful. We have oceans so deep that sunlight cannot reach the bottom, mountains so high that the air is too thin to breathe, forests so old that they have their own weather systems. We have animals that migrate across continents,